I remember wanting to hang with certain friends of mine, especially in elementary. Some of the guys that were a little rougher came from rougher backgrounds than I did, and I guess she could see it. She could see it, and to her credit, they all wound up at least doing things illegal, things that they shouldn't have been doing, getting locked up not long after elementary and later on in life. So she definitely saw that.
Not long after elementary.
Not long after, yeah. Hey, man.
What up? It's Three Brothers No Sense. I am Tavares Ferguson, a.k.a. Ferg. Join my co-host, Buff and Razi. Fellas, tell them what's on your mind.
Happy New Year! It's new season, So I guess we walking into season 3 since I set the seasons by years. Or do y'all want to not do that? We can do it either way, but that's just how I transitioned us last year.
I like it that way. This can be season 3.
Okay, all right. So welcome to season 3, people. Happy New Year to everybody. Not a whole lot going on with me. I threw out there Sabrina the Teenage Witch, or what is it? The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I still call it by the original name. But season 4 of that dropped. It's okay. But Cobra Kai season 3.
Did you watch seasons 1 through 3?
Yes, actually, it's really good. So it is not the Teenage Witch, ABC show or wherever it was on back in the day. It is an adult themed, like, witches horror theme type thing. Like it's actually a really good show if you like that type of stuff. So it's really good. Season 4 is just dropped, and I think it's the last season. It's going pretty well, but on top of that, I binged Cobra Kai season 3 yesterday, all the way through, straight through.
Me too.
It's awesome, just like we anticipated. So if you haven't watched it yet, go out watch it. But again, Ferg, no spoilers. I will not spoil anything.
I'm halfway through. Like, that's so crazy. People feel like they give you, like, this dude was giving me a timeline. Like, oh, dude, you had all day to watch it. Like, dude, it's been out for less than 24 hours.
No, I wasn't giving you a timeline. I was just saying that's generally the rule. Is it's a 24-hour waiting period for spoilers. It's a spoiler-free 24 hours.
When did that rule come out?
So, Razi, I think that's different. I think that's for shows that are week to week, like how Game of Thrones was. But for shows that you have to stream, you don't know who's watched all 10 episodes yet. You know what I mean?
Bro it's probably 10 episodes, 5 hours worth of shows, and you like, oh nigga, you got 24 hours, well, 19 hours, because 5 of them already taken by the show to watch this show.
Hey, you on vacation? You should be. I'm helping you vacation, Ferg.
But I was trying to. Now my vacation, I got pressure to binge watch something before it gets spoiled. Like, I should be able to, wake up, watch an episode or two. So give people time, Razi. Don't pressure people into binge watching TV.
I mean, you have 48 hours actually, because that was yesterday morning, and it's Saturday night.
It's not 48 hours, bro.
That's 48 hours.
Okay, now you're doing that math. That's the math we're doing. That's the math. I'm done. Buff, what's going on with you, bro?
Man, a lot, but I'll just try to condense it to this. Ever since I think we had a question that was based off of his show, the gentleman by the name of Kevin Samuels. I've been watching some more of his shows lately, man, and I'm already Razi already the favorite, so, and I can't get any lower than third favorite, so I'm just gonna put it out there, ladies. That brother makes some points. I mean, I know y'all probably don't like his delivery, and it can be a little coarse at times. But some of the things he says, man, makes a lot of sense. And just watching an entire episode, if you go in it without any type of bias, you may not like what he has to say. But a lot of it's true. For example, he was talking to a woman. She started out saying how she was in an abusive relationship for 5 years. And she left that relationship 3 years ago. She wants to get married. And then the more and more she talked and he asked questions, she was like, well, I'm not ready to get married right now. I'm working on myself. It's like, which one is it, shorty? But people don't want to admit off top that they're broken, which is what he called her, and have a lot of, like the baggage question that we asked last week. A lot of people don't like to admit their baggage. So, like I said, he makes some points. Sometimes he's a little too rude, unnecessarily rude, I may say. But hey, women may not like it, but dude be onto something, man.
He's an entertainer. Like I think people mistake him being a counselor for him being an entertainer. Like you say, he drops good advice, good jewels, but he's so blunt about it because he's entertaining.
Yeah.
He's trying to get people and rile them up and get a reaction out of people so they watch. So the reason why he went viral is the exact reason why he does it that way, so that people will be like, "Oh my God," and then they go back and watch some more. And because he does make some okay points in there, and even when it's tinged rudely, it hits home. It really does.
I just want to make the point too, man. A lot of people like to walk around and say what they're not settling for. Everybody settles for something because you're never going to meet the perfect person. There's no such thing as a perfect person. So like a lot of women calling this show, like this one woman says she wanted somebody that makes at least $200,000 a year. And it like, I think the statistic was like only 6% of men make that much money. So out of that 6% of the population, you think you're special enough to get one of those. And that's okay if you feel that way, but you need to also know reality that, that 6% may not view you that way.
Yeah. And when you think about it's not even 6%, but then you think about how many of those are already married in your age group.
Yeah.
That might be checking for you because, the thing about it, or you check for them, because a lot of those people that you talk about, that 6% that's making over 200,000 are like in their 50s, 60s. That's when you start making that type of money normally. Like when you talk, I'm getting in the C-suite level or director level in companies where I can make that money, or I'm an entertainer. Those are really your choices when you're doing that and when you're making that type of money, unless you're like a professional, hey, I'm a doctor. And even then, you're talking, in their 30s already before they actually making money like that. So, I mean, you're talking maybe 2% of the population that you are actually able to even interact with to be able to date like that. And then you're trying to put yourself in that pool of everybody else that's searching for that same 2% of guy.
Yeah.
Ferg, he kind of reminds me of you. Is that how you feel about that?
I'm not as rude, but no, you said he makes you said he makes some good points. I think the brother spits a lot of just facts. Like and he comes at it like he's rude, but if he comes at it like from a neutral point, let's just take a step back and just like what Razi said, let's get into statistics. It's 6% of the men make this money. 3%, let's say half of them are ineligible. So now you're down to 3%. And then another 1% of those are not in your age bracket. So that leaves you 2% of the population. What makes you think that 2% of the population is checking for you? Not saying they're not, but 2% of the population wants you. Just you. But those are real stats. Like what everybody thinks they're a queen. Everybody thinks they're wifey material. Everybody, you're a good person. You might be a good spouse, or you have the makings of a good spouse, just like men. But it's like you have your shortcomings too. And a lot of times we're way more broken than we want to admit. And I mean, I was watching an episode the other day, and it made me think of Razi's like, what part? I think he said, what part of your WAP is attracting abusers and felons? She was like, there's no good men out there. And he spit some facts. I think he says 51% of 51%. Black men are eligible.
Yep.
And she's like, no. And she just gave her own facts. So I think it's like 20. I'm telling you from a study. Right. But you're telling me what you think, and what you think becomes facts. And I'm like, no. Stop being biased. Stop letting your or our life experience dictate what we think is reality. And I think he's logical. He's rude as hell. Like every video or clip I've seen from him, I cringe a little bit like, ooh. Like, and then for a second, like I wanted to come to that woman's defense, but I'm like, let me hear him out. Let me just take a step back and see where he goes with this. And like, yeah, I mean, those are some points, and you don't have to. I don't think there's a fine line between like just being confident and having low self-esteem or being unrealistic. Like, I think those are things that he tries to say. Let's just be realistic, confident, but be realistic. But you want to, I don't know. My bad.
And one last point on that, like the clip that went viral, like a lot of people got caught up on him telling the woman that she looked average. But like Razi pointed out, he was using her own words. She's the one that called herself average. So he just repeated that. But the clip was kind of like clickbait. Like you just heard him calling her average. So it's like, who does this ninja think he is calling this woman average and stuff? So like I say, I encourage you just to listen to one of his calls without any bias and go from there. Don't just go by the clip that you've seen.
But what's crazy is most people are average. That's why it's called average. Average is not bad. Like you're okay. Most likely you're average, maybe slightly above average, but you're asking for the top 10%. You're shooting for this, not saying it's unrealistic, but statistics show that the probability of getting with this type person are extremely low. Not saying lower your standards, but also just be realistic that, hey, the chances of getting this person may be a little smaller than I want to admit because A, B, C, D. Not saying she's a bad person or she's not a catch, but my bad. No,
I was just going to say, I feel like the women that be like, oh, I want this top 10% or this top 1% guy are the same women that like go play the Powerball every week. Like, yes, you can win the Powerball. Chances are you're not going to win the Powerball. So, maybe go to your 9 to 5 and actually work on your check. Just saying.
Yes. I mean, because he was saying so. It's like the whole thing, he was talking about being a boss and all that stuff. And it's just like, what are you the boss of? Like, you're coming up with these titles for yourself and all this. But I digress. What were you about to say, Buff?
I was going to say, sometimes we gotta check our so-called standards too, because like if you're, I don't want to just limit this to women. If you're a man or a woman and you want someone that makes $250,000 a year, why is that? Because if you all like, you can say, well, I make that much, so I want somebody else that makes that much. That goes back again to some Razi talked about with the whole power couple thing. You meet somebody that makes that much, that means they're working, they're busy, they're focused on their career. You're working, you're busy, focused on your career. There's a great chance that you guys are never going to have a lot of intimate moments and a lot of time together. On the flip side, if you don't make that much, but you don't want to struggle, but you're making $75,000 a year, but you want somebody that makes $250,000 a year, then you got to check that standard again, because why does somebody that makes that much see you fit to come and come bring their income to the table versus your little income? So you got to check your standard. Like, why do you have this certain standard? What are you bringing to the table?
Let's not make it personal. Let's make it business. Let's say this was a negotiation table. What do you bring to the table that they are going to find beneficial? Now, if you make $250,000 and he makes $250,000 or vice versa, and you're like, you know what? We're more about being a power couple. They're fine with that. They're prearranged marriages and marrying for financial stability and legacy building. That's fine. It's not all, I've said it before, love is overrated, but don't make that your goal and then expect all this other stuff. Yeah. Or not necessarily expect all this other stuff, but like that might not come with it automatically.
Because
love might not come with it.
You might not come with it.
And chances are, if you're making $250 and you want somebody else that makes $250, they're probably not going to appreciate what you bring to the table as much as somebody that's making $80. You know what I'm saying? Like, why not seek that person that makes 80? They're going to appreciate the hell out of you. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? Keep your 250,000 there. Like, get your $250,000. But realize that the dynamics of your relationship might not be that perfect scenario that you think it's going to be. Yeah. Because, 50% of marriages end in divorce anyway. Marrying for love doesn't necessarily work. So if you're marrying for a strategic partnership, and you're saying, I'm looking for somebody who can help build upon what I have and vice versa, that I know that's not in it for the money. I'm not carrying their baggage and their weight. And I want somebody who's my mental equal. That's great. Now, at that point, you might need to seek a professional and have somebody matchmate. You might have somebody who's looking for that same thing, and you might need professional help to find that. But just don't think you're just going to go to a random club in Houston or Birmingham or DC or Atlanta and just run into this dude and he's going to find you out of this sea of women and you're average at best. Happy New Year, everybody. 3 brothers, no sense here. So how did you guys bring in the New Year?
I was asleep.
Oh, you didn't make the countdown?
No, I did make it. I was sitting there playing PlayStation. I think. I got the kids down. I poured me a cup of bamboo rum actually instead of guidance. Got some bamboo and played some PlayStation till about 12:30, and then went to sleep, man. So nothing big, nothing special.
Nice. Well, I had to work New Year's Eve and then had to be back to work on New Year's Day at 7, but I told them don't expect me till 10. So I just watched the countdown with the fam and went right back upstairs and got into bed because I had to be to work. So this is one of the most tame New Year's Eves I had in a long time.
Sounds like fun. Well, mine was cool. Like we actually, for the most part, we've been real low key with everything when it comes to the pandemic. Like I've said before, I've been able to stay in my bubble because I work from home. Z's a stay-at-home spouse right now. The kids don't go to school. Well, they're doing virtual school. So I'm able to stay at home and be in a bubble as much as possible. But this year we actually went out. We were working. So that was the main reason we did it. We worked a black tie and sneakers New Year's Eve private party. And it was pretty dope, man. It was good to see just a lot of Black excellence, a lot of people, movers and shakers in Houston do their thing. But it was really cool, man. We missed the countdown.
I'm not going to let you skip over your flex. Or maybe you don't want to talk about it right now, but can you please enlighten the people on what you mean by working and tell them what you got going on, brother? Because it's a big deal, in my opinion.
Oh, well, Z and I, which is Ferguson Legacy LLC, along with my business partner, we purchased a photo booth. It's we call it Mirror Me photo booth. So basically, it's a big ass selfie machine. I guess that's the best way to explain it. About a 5-foot mirror, and we were a vendor at a party. It was pretty cool. We had probably like 100 people there, and it was just something I've always wanted to do is have a side businesses and something to bring in additional income. And we bought it. We actually bought it right before the pandemic hit. So we bought it. It arrived the first week in March, and we haven't been able to do anything with it. We had a couple of little small private things that we did for ourselves, but this was our first paying event. And it was actually cool. Everybody loved it. It was, I think, one of the highlights of the party. And it's hilarious because women loved it because they get to check themselves out in the mirror before they take their photo. So, but it was fun, man.
Cool,
so
cool.
I'm trying to
and shout out what's the website they can go to if they want to book?
Well, if you're in the Houston area, it's willyoumirrorme.com. But it's cool. So I always want to have things going on outside of my 9 to 5. And I think 40 for me is all about perspective and building that portfolio and planning those seeds for the future. So
congratulations, man, and
appreciate it. But that's what's up. Yeah. 3 brothers are gonna have a business opportunity soon. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna figure out something to invest in to make this money.
Let's do it.
But that was my Well, the biggest thing is I go back to work Monday. I've been off for by the time this drop, I will be getting ready to start working again. And I've been off for about 10 days. And I need a vacation. Like, dude, I'm tired. It's been a crazy few days, but I'm tired. The kids with us today, Razi? What's up?
Yeah.
Hey, Sophie, you got a good joke for us today?
Yeah! Ollie's also here.
We see. What's
I'm
up?
going to tell a joke.
And Eli's also here.
What's up,
And
Eli?
I won't tell a joke.
Happy New Year,
Yes.
everybody.
Happy New Year to you.
So, who's telling the joke? Is it you or Ollie today?
Eli, do you want to come? And we could all do the joke? Okay, here's the joke. So, how do frogs remove band-aids?
How do frogs? I knew that was gonna happen. I knew that was gonna happen. I saw Ollie looking down at it. He's like, "Yeah."
I feel that one too. Ollie stole my thunder.
It's okay. I'll make it funny.
Wait. Can we do another one?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Ollie destroyed it.
Don't worry. I can make it funny.
No, he can't, Sophie.
No.
Because I was going to get that one, and I want a chance to redeem myself.
Yeah, and Ollie said, "Ribbit." Right after he heard me say it, "Ribbit." Ribbit. He didn't even give you guys any time to actually
Yeah,
think.
Ollie, you got to give us time.
Okay.
He has his daddy's timing when it comes to comedy.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
A broken pencil.
A broken pencil.
Broken
who?
pencil who?
Never mind. It's pointless.
I said what Sophie was saying.
That was a good one.
Well done. Well done.
Well
That
done.
was my turn.
No,
Ollie wants to try
All right,
now,
Ollie,
but
you go ahead.
we go.
All right. Go.
Ollie's gonna destroy the joke.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Me.
Ollie.
Me who?
Me, you.
Yep. Get your daddy's comedy.
Hey, good job, Ollie.
Good job, Ollie. I see the man bun too, Ollie. Your man bun rocking. Oh man. Well, it's great. It's great to be in 2021.
You know I'm keeping
Just-
that in, right, bro?
You just popped the bottle to my statement.
Yeah, man. A little Hennessy privilege.
I don't know what 2021 is gonna flex. I don't know what 2021 is gonna bring, but I feel like it was good to put closure on 2020. You know, just get that year behind us. Like, hey, it is what it is. 2020 can't do any more harm. That's the way I try to view it. You know, I think Razi left, so I'll wait till he gets back.
Yo, is that a Q sign on his chair?
Yeah, but it's probably the name of the chair. It's like probably Omega Gaming Company or something like that.
Okay, that's probably why he got it. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it's probably because it's expensive and massages his back and all the, Razi. He ain't gonna spend that much on the front. So no, I was thinking.
Are y'all talking about my chair?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the frat.
I know.
It's like one of the premier like gaming chairs out there.
Told
So
you.
yeah.
Probably
Memory
has
foam, the whole thing's memory foam and all that. Yeah.
speakers in there. Speakers in there.
Now, can we get a flex for him? Since I always get the flex, right?
No, because I didn't say anything about it.
Continue on, Ferg.
Semi-flex.
Man.
Semi-flex. He just ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since you said so, since you this old thing. So it's Omega Gaming Chair 2020. No, so I was thinking we had a couple over here the other day, and we were just talking about our kids and our growing up in our life experiences, and we talked about how like a lot of times we feel like Black people embrace the struggle. That's kind of where we hang our hat on. and it made me think about parenting. And so my question to you guys today, or questions, describe your parents' parenting style. Like, what would their style have been, or what was it? How do you judge it? How do you grade it in your parenting style, and what's the difference?
So my dad, I would describe his style as part-time at best. And I'd give him anywhere from a D plus to a C minus. My mom, on the other hand, she definitely gets a solid A. But I don't know how to describe her style. Strict. It was strict, but I don't know. Strict comes to mind, but it's not just solely strict. Like, she definitely allowed me to do things, but I remember wanting to hang with certain friends of mine, especially in elementary. Some of the guys that were a little rougher came from rougher backgrounds than I did, and I guess she could see it. And to her credit, they all wound up at least doing things illegal, things that they shouldn't have been doing, getting locked up not long after elementary and later on in life. So she definitely saw that.
Not long after elementary.
Not long after, yeah. Hey, man. Hey, I'm just, they was in the life, dog. So she, I naturally gravitated to that, and I wanted to, you wanted to be one of the cool kids, but she saw that and she was like, she told me straight up, I don't want you hanging with them. And I hated that as a kid, but I appreciated it as I got older. So I'm going to try to come up with a word to describe it, but right now I can just give you the details of her parenting style. And
so, yeah, I like that. So my question now, because she was an A, let's start with your mom. Because she was an A, A's are great. But for you as a parent, you and Tabitha, what changes about your parenting style, or does it change considering she was an A? Like, why improve upon a better thing or something that was good? So,
well, for me, and I know this is a subject right up Razio's alley when you think about what he texted us the other day. But for me, there's always room for improvement. And one of the things that Razi is big on, and so am I, is giving your kids the platform to express themselves and give their opinion and let them know that their opinion count. I think the three of us, it's safe to say, we grew up in an age where it's because I say so parenting, pretty much. Like, there wasn't a lot of explanation. You didn't do a lot of questioning on the why. Matter of fact, why was a very dangerous question to ask your parents growing up. Like, what do you mean why? Because I said so. So I definitely try to do it a little different, because believe it or not, kids can make good points. Like, you can't go around, like, people love to brag about how smart their kids are, but then you never want to listen to them. They can never have any input on anything because they're a kid. Like, which one is it? So with my daughter, Tabitha, and I, we definitely let her know that she has a say-so in the decisions that we make in this house. And we definitely try to hear her out in a respectful way. Can't be disrespectful about it. But yeah, if you have a counterpoint to what we're saying, we'll hear you out. And I think that's one of the things that I can improve on as a parent that my mom or dad didn't necessarily do.
Is it timing wise? Like, she just can't just go. Is there a time and place for her opinion? She just can't just say it when she go to your room, Jasmine, and no, why do I have to go to my room? Because it's like, go to your room first, and then we can talk about it. But like, it's no defiance or because she's timing plays a part. But in your scenario, like, why do I have to go to my room? I don't mind explaining. I don't mind explaining why. Now, once I explain it, and you're like dead to rights wrong on something that I'm on, the reason why I'm telling you to go to your room, then that should be it. So there's definitely, like, she doesn't just have free reign to just challenge any and everything, but
there are moments where I think parents should hear their kids out.
Yeah, it's a fine line. But if usually if I'm saying go to your room, you already know why I'm saying go to your room. Like, you're in trouble already. It's not you did something wrong and I'm telling you to go to your room. If I just randomly, if you don't know why I'm telling you to go to the room, something's wrong. That means that we everybody's been quiet. We all chilling, and I just get up and be like, Jasmine, go to your room, or Sophie, go to your room. Like, they're gonna be like, why? Because they don't understand why. At that point. So I agree, Buff. I think I don't mind explaining it if you don't understand why. Because that means that you need to know why I'm punishing you. Because that's one of the big things is if you don't know why I'm punishing you, then my punishment isn't going to work. The discipline doesn't work unless the child understands why you're disciplining them. So,
well, did you ever get in trouble and didn't know why, even when you asked why?
Yeah, I have. But going to my grade and my parents. So I'll just jump in because I'm with Buff. I give my parents A's all day long. 5 kids growing up. I've talked about how neither one of them graduated high school, and they have 5 children that have graduated college at this point. Mm-hmm. So that in itself, shows
that's a flex for your parents, dog.
That is
a flex. Definitely. Whether they want it or not, that is a flex, man. That's dope. I always admired your family, but continue.
Yeah, so I definitely give them an A. But it's one of those things that there's a difference in them doing a good job, and like you said, we can improve upon it. There's still generational curses that happened in my family that we either had to grow or had to kind of work our way out of from my family. And so, like, the cool part about it is because my mom and dad came from 2 totally different perspectives. One's white, one's black, one's an immigrant, one is a American born, raised, a descendant of slavery versus an Italian immigrant. So I had the whole wetback wop thing, all of that from my dad's side. I had the Jim Crow cloud over me from my mom's side. So we got all of that coming, and being able to see and them actually argue. And so that was one of the cool things about growing up in my house is they would argue about how to raise us. And you kind of hear it playing out where my mom would want to raise us in this super strict Southern, black, I got to keep my black son safe and my black kids safe thing. And my dad coming from Jersey and anybody from up north knows Northeast, they just do things differently. Like, you can curse in a Jersey Italian household at 13. Ain't nothing big about a 13-year-old, Italian kid cursing in the house. And so my dad didn't see where that was a big issue. And so little stuff like that is where, I really liked being able to grow up and listen and hear all of that. But then as I grew older, I started to see the good and the bad perspectives of both their arguments. And so trying to kind of say, okay, here's how I want to parent and the things that I want to do. And everybody knows my parents have moved in since, Jen passed. And going back to the text that Byron kind of talked about is I text them and I was like, man, it's so hard to break generational curses with your parents living in the house with you. Because that generation's still there and they're still trying to instill those same things into the kids that you're trying to break. So it's hard because now I have to argue with my parents, and my mom in particular about things that Byron talked about, Sophie's talking back. And I'm like, no, she's not talking back. Did she make sense? What she asked you, did it make sense? I'm not this is grown folks' business. If you are talking around a child in the same room and y'all are having a conversation and the child understands what y'all are talking about and they want to get in the conversation, I'm all for that. As long as they understand it and they know how to navigate into a conversation. And my argument was that too often we as Black people have this mentality, and we've been taught, just be quiet. Don't get in grown folks' business. Don't interject into a conversation. And guess what? When we get older and we get into a business setting, when we get into a professional setting, we can't do that very well. So guess what happens is we try to work hard to get ahead but get overlooked. Whereas, some of the other people can, see the managers over there talking at the water cooler, and they'll just jump in and they start making friends, and they start learning how to navigate inside of the culture that they're at. And so then what happens is when that management position, when that promotion comes up, they're the person that the manager thinks about, because they're the one that's been laughing and joking at the water cooler with them the whole time, not the person that's grinding it out. And then you wonder why the person that's doing mediocre work is the one that's getting promoted. And so that's what I'm trying to teach my kids, is how to navigate into a conversation, how to get into a conversation respectfully. And then if they say something that they don't need to be involved in, if there's a conversation that doesn't need to involve them, I might tell them, go to your room because you don't need to be involved in this conversation. Or I'll tell them, hey, this isn't the time to jump in, because I'm teaching them how to jump into a conversation, how to navigate inside of a conversation, when to jump in, when not to. And so I may call them out and say, no, now's not the time. But it's not because it's grown folks' business. It's now's not the time. Here's why. So that I can really mold them into being a very good person that can navigate inside of society.
I was going to tell you, Ferg, I'll tell you one more thing else I do too is I try not to wait until Jasmine is in trouble to talk to her. I like try to have random talks with her, just on a regular day. Just tell her, why we parent this way, why we have her do this or why we have her do that, why it's important to pay attention in school and do your best. And, I've literally told her, I'm like, the older you get, the less the world is going to care about you. I'm like, you're not 3 and 4. You're not some cute little girl anymore that people are just like, oh, like the older you get, people are not going to give a damn. And it's going to be up to you to figure things out and know how to do it. Nobody's going to hold your hand. And that's another thing I do that my parents didn't do. And the other thing I wanted to say was, you can never tell your kids, man, hold on one second. So, but before I get to the next point, just excuse the noise in the background, Mrs. in the kitchen. But the other point I wanted to make was, you can never tell your kids how much you love them, because something that I've learned is parents and kids have a different memory on how they were raised. Like how my mom raised me, I'm telling you, she probably doesn't see things the way I saw them being raised under her. And so our opinions were different. When I used to talk to her, our opinions were different on my childhood. So don't think that, hey, my kid knows I love them. My kid knows I do the best in them. You can never tell your child too many times how much you love them, because, they'll grow up and one of the first things they'll say is, my parents hardly ever told me they love me. When you can swear you said it like 80 times a day, every day. So I don't know if I expressed that correctly, but that's just something that I've learned.
That's definitely dope. So I'm gonna do my part. Actually, I'm gonna ask this question now, and then I'll finish up with my part. So the last part of that is, and I appreciate your honesty and transparency. How would you fare now if your parents had your parenting style? Like, what would be different about you?
I think as far as I feel like I'm always playing catch up when it comes to learning about our history. By our history, I mean Black history, and learning about our culture. That's just not something my parents really talked about that much. They were what I consider like, look, racism was way back then, and as long as you work hard, you can make it. Everything's equal. And we know there's a lot more nuance to that. And I just think that my eyes didn't really open until I moved up here to DC and just talking to a lot of people I work with and just seeing how politics work and just talking to different people, man. It's like, there was so much I didn't know. There's so much that I'm still learning. That's why, we read the books that we read in our book club. That's why I'm always trying to read up on things and paying attention to what's going on, because I just feel like when I was in my early 20s, like hearing about certain things, I just, like, I told the story about when I went to, what was that, shoe station, and I had on the Timberland shoes, and the security guard, pretty much accused me of stealing the shoes. It's like things like that to me was just so foreign. Like, I just didn't see racism happening to me. And I just feel like I would have been more knowledgeable, more in tune with my history, my culture, because that's what I'm doing with Jasmine. We literally have weeks out of a month where I talk to her about slavery, when I talk to her about Medgar Evers, when I talk to her about who Basquiat was, because she's into art now. Like, I try to teach her about people that you're not going to learn in school. And I just feel like, school, especially in Alabama, they only teaching you about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks for the most part. And it's up to you to learn the rest of the stuff. And so I think I just had her parenting skill been like mine, I would have been more knowledgeable about that.
I think for me, the biggest difference would have been I wouldn't have waited so long to get help when it came to like my PTSD, my mental health, those types of things. It's on both sides, an Italian side and a black side, you shut up, you internalize that, and you just keep pushing. Like, that's what we do. We don't talk about mental health. We, even when we knew that there was somebody in the family that had mental health issues, you just didn't talk about them. You didn't, and so I think that's the biggest part that I would have been able to express my emotions better. Or sooner. It took me a long time to get to the point where I could really talk about what was bothering me and being open, even with my friends, being open with them, not wearing the mask all the time. And I still do that. I wear the mask all the time now. It's rare that anybody really is going to be able to see the hurt and what I'm worried about and pained about and things like that. I open up to you guys rarely, but you probably are the ones that I will open up to the most. And so, I think that is what the biggest thing, because it's just been ingrained in me so hard to just keep pushing, just internalize it, just be quiet about it, that I would have been able to open up sooner. But other than that, they did what I would expect. They instilled the work ethic, the community involvement, the taking care of people, the love that I always try to show, and it came from them showing that. Growing up, people laugh about little stuff like dads being the coach of the team or whatever, and how that might not be a big deal. But I think back on it, my dad was my baseball coach all the way up until high school. So he was always there pushing. So it's one of those things that being involved in your child's life, I got all that from them. So I think that was the only one that really would have changed much, is just being able to talk about my emotions and my mental health.
Interesting, fellas.
And you asked us to describe their style. I think I know I went with strict. I also would go with strength, and maybe to a fault at times, but definitely she was a very, very strong woman. But she made sure I had what I needed and a lot of what I wanted all by herself. And I say straight to a fault because she didn't put my dad on any type of child support once they divorced. She was like, I shouldn't have to make him pay for you. I shouldn't have to force him to pay for you. That should be something that he wants to do. And I understand that logic, but on the flip side, it's like, well, if he's not, then you should make him, because you shouldn't have to work as hard as you do. He's in this too, and make him do it. So she at times was strong to a fault, but overall, her strength is what really got us through me growing up, man.
Appreciate that. So for me, I'll start, my situation is always kind of weird. So I'll start with my biological father. I'll just say absent, he was just absent, wasn't really around. I saw him in spurts, but always was the life of the party. That was just his thing. And the thing about it, even now, he'll give you the shirt off his back if he hasn't spent it all already. He has a very slim window because he has some vices that, if you can catch him if you can catch him while he cashing his check, he'll give you the whole damn thing. An hour later, it might all be gone. But he's always been a giving person, always, just happy, go lucky. What did we get in school for not participating?
a ribbon, a participation trophy.
No, like you got an NA, like you just didn't have enough grades, and just like they almost like voided the class.
Oh yeah, like an incomplete or something.
Yes, I'll give him an incomplete. I'll just give him an incomplete. My stepdad, I'll give him a B minus. A big part of it was when I was really young, he was an A plus to me. He was my role model. He's who I wanted to be like, who I wanted to make proud of me. He really pushed me a lot. He always, growing up in Dallas, wanted me to be the best and the brightest, and anything that I wanted to do, started playing the piano. He signed me up for piano lessons. I wanted to do soccer. He signed me up for soccer. Like he encouraged me to do more because he saw a lot of the limitations that people, especially when that he was around in Mobile, put on their kids. Black kids aren't supposed to play the piano. They're not supposed to play soccer. So it's like, if my son wanted to do this, then he was going to do it. That changed a lot when we moved to Mobile, less opportunity. And then when him and my mom split, there was just this void for a while. He never quite abandoned me, but if anything, I abandoned or I rebelled. And so that's when that relationship kind of just started going down, but really good now. My mom, I got to give her an A, just like you, Buff. So my dad was an encourager and supporter in the beginning. My mom, very loving, kind, strong to a fault, one of 15 kids. I felt like she always just was about keeping her nose clean and not trying to cause any drama. Like, she just wasn't one of those people that liked to be, to have drama. I never really seen her angry. I've never really seen her do things like that. And although she was very loving, she was not very emotional or expressive that way. Like, you never questioned her love, but she wasn't very affectionate. And I get that from her to a fault. But I think to encompass all of them, I think the thing they lacked the most was guidance for me. So as a young adult, even as a teenager, I felt, back to what you were saying, Byron, the way they tell their story and the way we tell our story are two different things. That's why, once again, I love This Is Us. Because you're right. It's not a maybe. We're going to see things differently. Just point blank. But I feel like there was a certain freedom they gave me. And I don't know if it was because the lack of, or it might be a combination of things, because of the lack of knowledge. They had a lot of personal stuff going on as well. And also the thought process that I was always going to be okay. I think that was probably one of the biggest things I dealt with, even to this day, is I was that kid that nobody ever worried about. Tavares is going to figure it out. He's going to be okay. It's going to be, you don't have to worry about him. He's going to make good grades. He's going to go to college. He's going to do all this stuff. So the perfect example is I decided to join the Army on my own. There was no question. When I decided to join the Army, there was no questions asked, nothing. Like, what do you need? It was just basically, what do you need from me? Like, where do we sign? What's the recruiter's name? Even when I decided to go to college, there was really no pushback or no guidance on what school you're going to go to. What do you do when you get there? What are you doing to prepare? Which is kind of like very hands off. And so that leads me to the biggest thing. What I would change about that was I want to be more involved in my kids' decision making in there. I want to be a tool for them to utilize as they navigate life. And I think we've been talking about that over the course of the last few weeks. One of my things is I want to be a good example for people, especially my kids. I want to be able to say, okay, you want to go to college or you don't want to go to college. Let me talk to my dad about it. Let me talk to my mom about it. Let me talk to somebody who can help give me some input, because I'm not saying I never had it, but it was never just offered up. I'm pretty sure if I asked, they would have said something, and maybe that's partly my fault, as I didn't ask. I just assumed that, like, okay, you're a parent, your kid is making a huge decision what school to go to and you have nothing to say, no input. I try to make myself at least knowledgeable enough about things where I can pass that information on. And if I don't, I try to build my circle so that I can always have somebody I can go find information from, or I can send them. Like, that's my thing, that's one thing I always want to do. God forbid something happened to me and I'm not here. I want my kids to know when it comes to this, you need to go to God Daddy Razi. You need to, before you make this decision, you need to call Byron up and ask him these things because this is who your dad would have went to. I want to have that network or that group for them as well. And so that's what I would change about my kids, and it made me think what would happen if the kids were like me and they didn't come to it for advice, or they just kind of just didn't take heed to anything I said. How would that work out? How would I feel about that? But
yeah, I'll give you an example. It was funny when Haley was looking at colleges, that exact thing happened. I had to reach out to her to be like, hey, what schools are you looking at? Yada, yada, yada. She shot me a couple of them, and one of them was like Mississippi State. And I was like, well, you can scratch them off the list because unless you get a full scholarship, you're not going out of state. And she was like, but. And I was like, no, I don't want to hear it. You're not going out of state unless you get a full ride, because it makes no sense for us to pay I'm not paying out of state fees. So scratch it off your list. And she was mad at me, but now she's going to graduate with no student loan debt at all. And so now she's kind of starting to understand why. But yeah, it's you need to be able to kind of walk that line of being a parent and being able to say and guiding them, and at the same time letting them make their own decisions. And so that was a hard one. And my parents were kind of that same boat of, again, they didn't know anything about college, so they couldn't really help me with that. But one thing they did a really good job of is looking at colleges and saying, well, that does kind of make sense. So.
Because I was one of those kids, I never had a curfew. Like, I remember growing up in high school, like, I would go home at night because if I didn't, for one, most of the time I didn't have a car. So whoever was driving had a curfew, then the night was over, But it was just like, I just kind of had free reign. And I think part of my free reign was because my parents had faith that I wasn't going to go out and go rob a bank or go rob a liquor store at 2:00 in the morning. But, there was days I would come home from school Friday, pack me a overnight bag, and I'll come back Saturday night sometime so I can get my clothes ready for church. Like, that would be, like, I didn't really answer to anybody, but I want to have more accountability. I want my kids, I want to give them that freedom because I feel like that was a blessing, like that balance of being able to kind of be independent, but also know that there's someone that you can always count on, not just to be a listening ear, but to be a provide sage advice, so. Buff, you're about to say something, then we can jump off because I know I've cannibalized most of this time.
Nah, man, everything's good. I'm good. That was well covered, bro. Well covered.
All right, who's up next on MIC?
So I went first last week, so we can go to Razi if he's ready.
Yeah. And I guess we'll keep the family theme going then, talking about that. And so, Byron, you brought it up. I wasn't going to say anything about it until you brought it up. But last show, you brought up, the vasectomy thing. And so I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about family planning and I guess you would. And I said the same thing. I've had a vasectomy as well because of that family planning. So, what are you guys do for family planning? Do you have a plan for size of your family, what you want to do, and would you have done it sooner had you really thought about it?
All right, so elaborate on the whole family planning. You mean like just did we have an idea of how many kids we wanted to have, or? Yeah.
Did you already have a plan? How many kids you wanted? Did you meet the plan? If not, how do you adjust? What's your family plan now? That type of thing.
So I always tell people especially people with no kids that are thinking about having kids, there's no perfect time to have kids because there's always going to be like in our situation, it could have been, well, we want to wait till Tabitha finishes school. Then she would have got a career. Well, we want to wait till she, gets established in her career. Like there's never any perfect time. It just, you're never going to think you have enough money or enough savings or whatever the case may be. Just, be confident that you'll do a good job and let it happen. But I think for me, the most I wanted to have was 2 kids. There was a time that Tabitha didn't want any. So the compromise really was 1. And it would have been 2 at the most. So we have our 1. We're happy with her. And we probably would have had a second one. But, living up here, we have a limited amount of family that can help out. And we already were struggling to do adult couple things together without having a kid with us, by finding a babysitter. So just having another kid would have made that much more difficult. That may come off as selfish, but hey, on the live episode, we said, hey, spouses, that comes first. And while I had some pushback on that notion, it is important to have a great relationship with your spouse. And, we really had some tough times to where it felt like we couldn't do anything as a couple. So we stuck with the 1, and that's what we would have had. And that's where we left it at. But like I say, 2 would have been probably the most we would have gone. And I think we did it at the right time. I think I was 25 when Jasmine was born. And Tabitha was like 26, so I think we did it at the perfect time. She was she actually finished school. She graduated while pregnant, walked across the stage. So she was able to finish school. And I just think we did it at the right time. I already had my job where I'm at now. So I think it was good. Funny story though, she actually cried when she first found out she was pregnant. Like she cried, boo-hooing, and she called me. I know you told me not to forget my birth control pills, and I forgot now I'm pregnant. I said, whoa. I said, T, I'm not some dude you just met at the club 2 weeks ago. I'm your husband. If you pregnant, we about to raise this kid. What are you crying for? So, yeah, the timing was right though.
A year before,
she's gonna kill you for telling.
Tabitha don't sound like that. Maybe you were crying, bro. Maybe that was the story.
Nah, man, I was happy, man. I was so involved, dog. Like I even went to a diaper changing class. Like that's how involved. Like, I was all in, dog. Like,
yeah. I did that, how to swaddle,
Yeah,
all that good
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I went to the Le Mans class, and all of it was like a waste of time. Like Jasmine never wanted to be swaddled. She bust out of every swaddle that she ever was in. She just like wiggled her way out of it at like 3 weeks old, just wiggling it till her arms were free. So she hated being swaddled. And then Tab had a C-section, so the Le Mans class was for nothing too. So waste of time, but I was all in.
Well, that swaddle was clutch for both kids, especially the ones with the Velcro where you can kind of lock them in.
Mm-hmm.
You probably just use a nice little swaddle wrap, trying to be nice.
Ferg had the straight jacket, the baby straight jacket.
Zipped them kids in and, hey, man. Zipped them in and wrapped them real tight. And they come in different sizes, so we kept upgrading as they got bigger. There's no one size fits all. So family planning for me, I initially wanted 3 or 4 because there's, come from a decent sized family. So 3 or 4, I wanted 2 boys and a girl. A boy, and I had our plan. I wanted a boy first, a girl, then a baby boy. So I had the oldest, the only girl, and then the boy would have been just a baby boy. We end up, we have 2. We are done. One, because kids ain't cheap. 2, not getting any younger. Just don't want to go through that whole. I got a 19-month-old, and just don't want to go through that whole baby phase again. And the third one is just pregnancies are tough on Z. And so it for us, mentally, emotionally, physically, it's not ideal, and we're happy with 2. It's funny because my son made up for any more kids that we ever planned on having. We joke all the time. We're like, Sky, you're lucky TJ was second, because if he would have been first, he might have been the only child.
That's what they always say. The first one trick you.
Yeah. It's funny because we were talking about everybody's like their kids are smart. So everybody that met Sky, they were like, man, you guys got it made. Sky is just so laid back, very emotionally mature, never really caused any ruckus. I mean, the biggest thing is she's like super emotional. Like she'll cry. Like she'll wake up at night and crying at night, coming in the room like, can I get a hug? Like she wanted a hug and a kiss, and she'll go back in her bed. That's Sky. Never a bad kid. School teachers love her. They use her as an example to teach other kids. So we're around. We think, okay, this is what kids are like. Because I was in a bad kid. Z was in a bad kid. Like kind of similar to how we were as kids. And we have friends like, nigga, y'all got it made. Sky's making this. I'm like, it's not as like Sky got potty trained in a weekend. Not even a full weekend. We took out Friday. We had this potty training contract we signed with our school. We started potty training her Friday. By Sunday afternoon, she was potty trained. It's like, this potty train thing is overrated. Like, I don't see what's the big deal. She would have been potty trained sooner. It was me and Z being lazy. But she was probably trained a month or 2 before she turned 2. TJ ain't no in hell. That dude might go to college still peeing in the bed. Just because we haven't started with him, but I just know how defiant he is and how headstrong he is and stuff like that. But I think we're definitely done. If anything, and this is something we haven't talked about before, like I said, I wanted 3 and possibly to adopt. And we haven't talked about it recently, but I still wouldn't mind or haven't ruled out adopting. I feel like there's a lot of kids out there that need that chance. We talk about our lives and our growing up and our challenges growing up, and we were in a household loving family, and that comes with its challenges. I can only imagine what it's like growing up in the system. And if we could be that opportunity to help somebody, then haven't ruled it out. Unlike you guys, I have not gotten a vasectomy. That's something we talked about. I'm not a fan of knives or surgery. Z has an IUD, and maybe after this next go round, I might do it. I'm not totally against it. If she doesn't do another one, I would never force her to get any surgery for herself or procedure for herself outside of IUD. So if one of us had to go back in and do something, I guess I'll follow that knife if it was left up to me. But hopefully she doesn't listen to this episode or want to get any idea.
She got receipts now. She got receipts. You were like, you said on the episode, season 3, you were going to do it.
That was 2021, baby. Things change. But I like you about, I think for us, it was a perfect time. We had been married about 2.5 years before we had Sky. I was working at a whole other company before she got pregnant, and I refused to raise a family or start a family working for that company because my hours, the level of stress I had, I knew I couldn't be the husband or father I wanted to be working there. So I don't think there's a perfect time, but I think some times are better than others. So don't just go knock somebody up today because 3 brothers and no sense told you there's no perfect time.
That is
put my Kermit on. Do it.
So I did say I felt like we had it at the right time, but I do sometimes wish we had waited one more year. And I'll just tell this to anybody: make sure you get all your traveling and going out and dating one another out the way, because those first few years when you have that baby, that unless you got a consistent babysitter, that's gonna come to a screeching halt.
Oh, we're blessed, man. My stepmom, my sister, Dude, they are a blessing. And I didn't realize it until I needed it. Like, that's why we moved on this side of Houston. We moved on the other side of Houston to be closer to them because those first few months, you know, Houston's huge. It was a 45-minute to an hour drive to get from our house to drop Sky off with my sister or stepmom. And then, you know, that newborn, you still don't feel comfortable enough letting them spend the night. So we would drive from our house to drop Sky off, drive probably downtown to go on a date, which is probably another 30, 45 minutes, drive back from downtown to pick up Sky, which is another 30, 45 minutes, and then drive home. So we're talking, you know, that's 3.5, 4 hours of driving for date night. It was crazy. So now they're 10, 15 minutes away, and they just come steal our kids when they want to. So they're a blessing. So what's the deal with you, Razi?
Y'all know I wanted a baseball team. I was like, let's go. But you know, like you say, kids are expensive. So, you know, I had two iterations of this anyway, right? So my first marriage with Haley, you know, that was a whirlwind of emotions, young love, and all that good stuff in there. Do I regret it? Not at all. But at the same time, you know, that wasn't planned at all. You know, and Haley knows that. But then kind of fast forward into Jen with us, and we had talked about 3 when we first started dating or whatever. And then once we had Sophie, and we were like, how expensive, how intensive, how much it really takes to raise a kid, we whittled it down to 2. And we were like, if Oliver was a boy, then, you know, we were done. If not, if it was a girl, we try one more, go up to 3. That was kind of our consensus on that. And once Oliver came out, literally 3.
Ollie wasn't playing when Ollie was playing, though.
Oh, yeah, no, he wasn't. I mean, Ollie just was a good Mardi Gras night.
Because, you know, because her and
he was conceived, at the Dragon Ball, right after the Dragon Ball. So, James, Fino, I blame you for inviting us to the Dragon Ball. SWAT, all y'all got us drunk. And that's when that's exactly when Ollie was conceived.
You remember Z and Jen were talking about trying to get pregnant at the same time.
Yeah,
they had already planned this out, and then you called me back like a month later. They might have planned that out that weekend, and then a month later, like, doubt, Jen's pregnant. Like, nigga, that's not our timeline. But I digress.
Yeah,
Continue.
exactly. Because I think we were going on a cruise or something like that, and they were supposed to get pregnant on the cruise. They had talked about it. Yeah,
they did something.
So right after that, so Oliver was born. Literally a week later, Jen called and made my vasectomy appointment because she was like, we're done. And the doctor was like, well, wait for the 6 weeks, make sure that everything's good. And then, yes, we'll do it. And so 6 weeks after Oliver was born, I had my vasectomy and I was done.
And she
going to the whole,
I was saying she didn't want to do like the pills or anything like that.
Nah. She didn't want pills. She hadn't been on birth control for a while. So that was the other thing is we were freewheeling it anyway. It was one of those things. It was like, hey, she get pregnant. Because like, just like you said with Tab, it's like, look, we married. We already know we want 2 kids or, you know, 3 kids anyway. So if they come, they come. So it was no big deal for us. And actually with Sophie, we had went to a fertility clinic because we had been juicing for like over a year. So we like, wait a minute, how is she not pregnant yet? So, I remember that. Yeah, like we went to the fertility clinic and they tested her at the fertility clinic like she's pregnant. I was like, oh, okay, well, cool. Do we still got to pay for this session?
Yeah, that's crazy. Because that's hilarious. No, I don't play like that. Like we need some need to happen. Because if I juice, you're pregnant. Point questions, no questions asked. It is what it is. Because every time we were actually, so Byron, you said Tab was unexpected. Razi, y'all were trying and didn't know with Sophie, and Ollie just was a good night that ended up with him being conceived.
Good night too.
Like Z, we planned it. Like for us, we planned it to the point where Z had one of those ovulation calculators and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, okay, this is day 1. This is our day. And we did it 3 times, got pregnant 3 times. Like it was like, oh yeah, you pregnant. Like I felt that one.
But one thing we did talk about though is we did want to adopt. So for that third one, so she didn't want to go through childbirth again, but we did want to adopt once the kids got around 10, 11 age group. We were going to adopt somebody around that same age group. And so just talking about family planning and everything, I'm glad you brought it up for talking about people in the system, fostering those types of things. There's a lot of kids out there, especially when they get, 8, 10, 12 years old, their chances of adoption are almost zero. At that point, they're pretty much going to age out of the system. Yeah. And we knew that. And so what we wanted to do is get stable and everything. We had already had planned that when the kids turned that age that we were going to adopt a third child. So that a part of that family planning is like we had conversations about that, and it was ongoing. It was a moving target, right? I mean, it's a plan for a reason, and we reassess. So just talking about first of the year, reassessing plans and things like that. I think last year we talked about that on our New Year's episode, but it's the same thing. We would reassess every year to be like, okay, are we still cool with that? What do we want? Do we still want 3? No, we want 3, but we want to adopt 1. Cool, that works. And so, having those conversations with your spouse is huge. And so I just wanted to bring this question up really to kind of talk through what you guys had, how you planned, and how the conversations that you had that led to how you are today.
Okay, good question. What you got for us, Buff?
Very good question. I almost don't even know how to set this question up, man. And I actually told Razi there's a chance this could be a 2-part episode. But I wanted to talk to you guys about, especially within the Black community, skepticism versus just solely talking out our ass. And what I mean by that is, like, sometimes, and like, how do you navigate this? Because sometimes if you on the outside looking in, like, I can see how someone who's not that versed in the history and the facts and everything can be on the outside looking in and say, man, it really is no pleasing Black people. And I want to talk to you guys about navigating that. And just to give you a few examples, for one thing, this vaccine and the virus. So when the virus first came, you heard a lot of people, and this is going to pick on the hoteps a little bit, but you heard a lot of people saying this virus was just manufactured to kill Black people, right? You heard that. So, okay, they come out with a vaccine that's supposed to fight it. So now it's like the vaccine, they trying to put it in give it to Black people to kill us. So, like, which one is it? Is both true? Like, how can you say the virus was made to kill Black people, but then we come up with a solution for it, and that's not good enough for you? And like you said, Ferg, people always go back to the Tuskegee experiment, which is a valid point. Also, like when you talk about policing, we've talked about policing a lot on this show. You have some people that say, well, the neighborhood isn't safe because the police, they never come. You call them, it takes them 2 hours to get here. Versus when you do deploy police officers in the neighborhood, then you say, well, it's too much policing going on. We're being over policed. You have people that say, I'm not going to vote. I'm not voting. Voting is a waste of time. But we'll also say there isn't representation of Black people in our governments, in our local governments, in our federal governments. Well, could that be because you have that type of mentality to where you're not going to vote? That's why we lack the representation that we feel like we need. Or either when you look at our entertainers or celebrities, you look at somebody, we always say, our celebrities need to step up to the plate. They have the money. They have the platform to do something. You look at somebody like Jay-Z, Beyonce, who have done that, and they still get criticized. They're not doing enough. They could have gave more. He's just trying to, get a bigger status in the Illuminati or whatever the case may be. Can you please Black people? Or like, how do you navigate which side to be on when it comes to these type of issues, man?
I'll start first by saying the loudest aren't always the majority. So a lot of these folks that you're hearing are a small minority. They're less than 1% of the black population that's on these wild conspiracy theories and all of this stuff. It's not Black America. And those people are always going to be out there. There's always going to be snake oil salesmen. There's always going to be people that's, running people down and talking about building schools and not building them. I ain't going to say who. But
your role model.
When Killer Mike came out, he talked about a bank, and he had a bank within 6 months. Yeah. But for some reason, we gave him a whole bunch of money and still can't get a school. So, there's people that's going to do things, and then there's people that's just going to talk stuff and make up conspiracy theories. And then there's people that's going to follow them. I saw a post that talked about the virus and how the government, instead of actually saying, yes, we know we've hurt your trust, and because of the Tuskegee experiments and everything that we've done, we need to gain your trust for this vaccine. Instead of just saying that, they keep saying, why won't you guys trust us? You know why we don't trust you. Right. Don't act like you don't know. So you need to figure out a way to address it and make it where you trust. But the problem is, everything that they do, that those conspiracy theorists are going to kind of spin it. Oh, Obama is getting, a fake vaccine because he really ain't getting the real vaccine just to make us. Yeah. Like, come on. Like, it's one thing. All these conspiracy theories are there because people want to look for an alternate. They want to be contrarian. They want to be the person that's on the inside track. They want to think they know when there's going to be martial law in the streets and you need to go get all your toilet paper.
Still waiting on that.
They think that they know because it's very, very easy to validate your assumptions. You can go to the internet and Google, is there going to be martial law? And you're going to find 17 websites that says there's going to be martial law. And, my connection in the Pentagon told me that this happened. And so, everybody got a connection at the Pentagon for somehow that says that there's going to be a martial law.
I remember a post like that, dog. It's like, I just talked about an inside person at the Pentagon and the tanks are going to be out in the street tonight.
Yeah. Or they're showing like the military movement on trains and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm going to tell y'all, I shipped equipment 4 different times every summer because I had units that had to ship equipment almost every summer to go to their annual training. So I can tell you exactly around the times that units are shipping equipment and they're going to be on those railways. And it just so happens that, April and March are the big times that people are shipping because the summertime is the biggest time for annual training. So when they started posting all those posts, there's a easy explanation, and people don't like the easy explanations a lot of times. But along with that, there's a lot of unexplained and a lot of gray, and people are looking for easy answers a lot of times. So it's the explanation may be easy, but it might be a complex explanation, and they don't want the complex explanation. They don't want the gray. They want an either or. They want a binary decision. They want something that they can clearly say, this is a conspiracy, this is happening, instead of saying, no, it's a nuanced explanation. But if you really want to get into it, I can explain how atoms do this and molecules do this and mRNA, and here's how the vaccine was developed. We can talk about that if you want to, but you're probably not going to understand it.
Yeah.
So just take the vaccine and shut up. That's all I got to say about it.
They're trying to give us AIDS, Razi.
Yeah.
I mean, you can live with AIDS now. It ain't even that bad.
Oh.
It's still bad. It's not AIDS is not a death sentence anymore. Let's be the PC explanation of it. AIDS is not a death sentence.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pieces to that because we're not a monolith. There are conspiracy theorists out there. There's also people who do not like to research and rather be presented with information. And if there are enough quote unquote supporting facts around that information, everything else said is becomes a fact. I think a lot of people get their news from social media and outlets like that. It's easy. We talked about this before. Sometimes people like to be told what to think.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to talk about you mentioned the elephant in the room. There is a level of distrust in the Black community when it comes to the government. It's warranted, even if there's no big conspiracy. It's like, I haven't seen enough, or people haven't seen enough to believe that the government has our best interests at heart as a whole. Now the question is, they're like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We ain't even thinking about Black people. Like the conspiracy we really had, we had to put on a back burner because there's a pandemic killing our good white folks over here. So so we'll get back to
we gotta take care of this, and then we'll
get back to microchipping y'all with through Popeye's chicken sandwiches later. There are, there's a level of mistrust, not just the Tuskegee experiment. It's just Black Panther Party just planting people in our society to try to harm us. Every, I guess, huge Black leader, pretty much all of them have been assassinated. You look at, what's going on in the community with the police. You're talking about over policing, but the innocent people, or the police violence on Black people. Like, it's just like, why would we trust you? Nothing you have showed us makes me trust you. Police shoot somebody because I think all that's linked. Police shoot somebody in the unarmed person in the back on camera, and they're getting off. The Black person was the aggressor. Nothing really, makes us believe, or has us believe, that why should we trust people? I think sometimes we have to just take a step back and I don't think we're not big enough. We're not a big enough priority right now for them trying to do all the stuff that we're worried about. Is there a plan to overthrow Black people? Who knows? I'm surprised you didn't mention, the emasculating of Black males and the gay agenda, Byron, because that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
So, but all that stuff, it's, it's stuff that somebody starts talking about. You see a couple articles, and it's a good conversation on Facebook or IG or whatever, and it becomes facts. So,
yeah, man. I just, first off, I think, being skeptical and questioning things is a good thing. It can be a good thing. And we should, you guys both talked about it. This country has a history of mistreating us, of downright killing us, and being racist towards us. So you're damn right. We should question everything. But I think you have to, at some point accept reality. Like, trying to buy NBC is not what getting motherfuckers locked up. Raping over 60 people is what's getting you locked up. Okay? Pissing on a girl on video is what's getting you locked up. So in those kind of instances, we need to accept, some type of reality. But I do, I'm not against questioning things, because we should. And even with the vaccine, I get it. I see people saying, they came up with this vaccine too fast, not pointing out the fact that they had a record number of volunteers for it versus different other viruses. So, I get it, but you can't also be someone, or maybe you can, but I just think it's kind of foolish to say, we don't know what's in the vaccine, but, you're out here eating all types of junk food and putting all types of substances in your body. So at some point you just have to, accept reality, man. So that's just one of the things I wanted to talk about, man. So I appreciate y'all answer on that. And, we're going to have to get Umar on this show one day, so him and Razi can just have a one-on-one.
Man, I'll just I end up cussing him out. Like, I don't think I could actually, because folks like him and Candace Owens and, I call them, they're smart people and they are good at what they do. And so for every point, they're good debaters. Put it like that. They have a counterpoint for every point that you would make.
Yeah.
And that makes it's very difficult to debate them because what they'll do is they'll take a single piece or a single point that you have and they'll fixate on that and then it'll discredit your entire argument. So they're very good at what they do and they're very good debaters. The issue comes in when you actually take a broader strategic view or when you step back from it and you understand what's happening with it, it becomes nonsensical. And it's hard to debate a nonsensical argument because you don't have time to get back and bring the audience out to that broad view so that you can really kind of explain and connect the dots. You don't have time to do it. So I don't think I'd ever try to get into the ring with them because I'm not a good enough debater to try to do it. And so I just end up cussing them out and just being frustrated.
Yeah, let's like my man Huey Freeman said, every nigga that gets locked up is not Nelson Mandela. So like the former mayor of Detroit, he deserved to have his ass locked up. Okay. R. Kelly is where he needs to be. Bill Cosby, I know he was America's dad. He where he needs to be. Save that energy for true people who are unlawfully locked up, for true people that are unlawfully killed, Ahmaud Arbery's and Trayvon Martin's, and we know how long the list is by now. So that's just my little 2 cents on it, man.
So what are your people doing on the 6th, Buff? We're going to close out with that.
I'm glad you set me up for that because I was going to talk about that. Because of my position, I'm not going to specifically say which one, but we have a 2-party political system. And right now, one of our major political parties are straight, unfiltered cowards. And what makes it even worse than being the cowards that they are is that they're being cowards for a man that's equally a coward himself. He himself is a coward. It's unprecedented. I don't want to hear about, the whole both sides thing. It's not both sides. What we're about to see, or what some members have threatened to do this Wednesday, hasn't been done before. It's cowardice, it's unruly, it's downright dangerous because if this many are doing it this year, what happens 12 years from now, when even more get bolder, you're going to have it to where a select amount of elected officials are going to be choosing our commander-in-chief. And that is dangerous territory. And the fact that so few are speaking up against them is terrible, man. And I've never seen anything like this. I cannot wait till this man leaves office. He was the right president for 2020. I will say that. For the year that 2020 was, he was the right president because it's fitting. It's so fitting. And I'll say another thing too. I'm glad, Obama wasn't president and got elected president. I'm glad Obama isn't in Joe Biden's shoes because imagine if he was getting ready to be sworn in or whatever and you had these politicians coming up against you. Can you imagine the racism that we would be crying over this right now? Rightfully so. But yes, we have a major political party that are straight cowards that are not accepting the election results, despite the many, I think there have been over 50 court challenges.
60.
And let's take the state of Georgia. They actually found voter fraud. You know who it was for? It was for Trump. A man tried to vote for his dead wife. So I have to hold back on what I really want to say, but it's shameful. I'm surprised at some of the people that are going along with this, by the way. And
are you surprised about Ted?
I'm not, and I'll tell you what I think about him after we finish recording. But I'm going to leave it at that. Just remember what he's doing, and just remember what Trump said about him in 2016. And I hold manhood in a certain regard, and like I say, Ted Cruz is more forgiving than me. I'll just say that I don't think that's bad to say I think I can get away with saying that. Ted Cruz is more forgiving than Byron Evans because Trump would have had this, but let me stop.
Well, if Daniel's son can forgive Chose, never mind.
I'll just end with this. I spoke last week on how Waukesha's hot chocolate bombs didn't make it. They finally made it today, Waukesha, if you're out there listening. They were supposed to be here December 21st. Today is January 2nd. They finally made it. So shout out to the post office for such a very unexplainable delay.
They must have been on the same shipment with the vaccine, the 20 million vaccines we get. Razi, what you got for us, bro?
Nothing, man. I just want to welcome Byron to the SWAT gang mob. So that's our SWAT regiment on Call of Duty. Byron's into the PlayStation group now, so we got to get him indoctrinated.
It's a huge learning curve, brother.
Oh, did you play? You guys played,
I played
right?
like the practice round. The dude kept yelling at me like, "Soldier, go complete your mission. Pick up that money." I was like, "Damn, man, give me a second."
Gotta figure this out.
Only got 2 thumbs.
Yeah, that's what I told you, man. Moving into the 3D environment's totally different. So, but once you get used to it, all games pretty much work the same. So it's just learning that. But welcome to that, man. I'm ready to have some fun with you on that. Other thing is, guys, Byron mentioned it last episode. Merch is out there. We got the hoodies, we got the sweatshirts, we got the long sleeve tees out there. Go check out threebrothersnosense.com. Grab some merch. Let us know how you like it. Let us know what you want. So if there's something in particular you want out there, we can get it down there. We appreciate every order. Like we said, we rarely make any money off of it. What we're really trying to do is just get the name out. So with that, make sure you're sharing. Make sure that if you do want to support us monetarily, there is a donate button on the website, so you can definitely donate to us. You can set it up where it's one time, or you can do it monthly. And going back to Coming to America, we appreciate the money that jingles, but we love the money that folds. So, throw it out there to us. We love y'all, though. Appreciate all the listens and everything. And happy 2021.
Happy 2021 to you too, Razi. I'm going to keep it short, man. I'm excited. Like I said, I started work again Monday. I need a vacation for my vacation, so maybe work will be a little less stressful. But the highlight of next week is my favorite show comes back on. This Is Us comes on Tuesday, so if you haven't watched it, catch up. Now's the time to binge. We're not going to do any spoilers, like Razi.
Tell them 24 hours.
Lord. But welcome 2021. People, we can hit the reset button. Everything, the world starts with one. Well, the world starts with 1, not 0. So look at 2021 as a beginning. Whatever you were supposed to do last year, started this year. We mentioned a couple of times, tomorrow's not promised. Embrace life, embrace the time you have, make the most of it, go out and do that thing that you've been putting off for so long. Start a podcast, write a book, lose weight, do whatever you're going to do, readjust, and get it done. It's Three Brothers No Sense, first podcast of the year, season 3, episode 1. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. See you next week.
Vote, Georgia. Make sure you vote.